Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank GoSports and all you wonderful people for turning out today to share this with me. They have asked me to speak about my journey, which is quite an unusual one, very different from most coaches. And I find that invariably when you have a very different approach, usually the result is also quite different. And I go back 30 odd years and have a deep insight into aquatic sports as to what has happened from the beginning, at least 30 odd years ago. And I wish Gopi was here. But I really appreciate what he said, and I can see clearly the passion and the drive that he has, him and his family, is what has gotten him to this point where he's achieved so much in such a short time. I sincerely congratulate him and his family, and it just goes to show what can be achieved with passion, and I sincerely tip my hat to him. Coaching is not really a recognized profession today. I think we still have a way to go. I mean, when people ask me, off the street, or people that I meet, they ask me, what do you do? What do you do for a living? What do you do? And I say, I'm a coach. And they look at me as though, okay, so what's your real job? Yeah, literally. So I say, yeah, this is what I do 8 days a week, 25 hours a day. Okay, this is what I do, and this is what I love. This is what I'm passionate about. I think a lot of work needs to be done for coaches to get the recognition that they deserve. We are still far away from it as a society. I think we still have ways to go as a society, as a country, in terms of recognizing sport for what it is. I mean, the very words, if you look at in Hindi, khel or aata or whatever, or sport, it clearly, the connotation is clearly frivolous and something to do with, what you should do in your spare time or just play is basically what it means. Sport all over the world is a multi-billion-dollar industry. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is probably the single most important tool anybody can have to get their nation's pride, to get their country recognized, to have on a global platform, to have their flag flying high at the Olympics or any world-class event, or hear their national anthem playing. And that's recognition at the highest level. And I think in terms of, at least, it's changing slightly, but I don't believe we're there yet. I think we have ways to go. A small example I can give you is very recently, you saw Sandeep on the video, and I was there with him when the sports minister announced the awards or cash incentives for the 2014 Asian Games. While everybody was making speeches and everybody was patting each other on the back, not a single word was said about the coaches. Nobody, not a single one, except when Sania Mirza stepped up, and she was the only one who spoke about her coach and thanked her coach for what he had done for her and how he had helped her along the way. I felt it necessary to just walk up to her and thank her for that. And I said, you know what? You're the only one who has recognized that coaches have something to do with this whole process from your sports minister to your administrators and everybody, the whole gamut in between. We have a role to play. But we have ways to go before athletes and coaches are respected as much as they need to be. Certainly we're not anywhere close to what it is in the developed nations of the world, such as Australia and the US and Europe. Although we have a great tradition of Guru and Shishyu. I don't think we're there yet. We're supposed to respect our coaches, and in the hierarchy of things between federations and Olympic associations and sports ministries, I think athletes and coaches need to be recognized at a much, much higher level for what they do, and need to be compensated for what they do. And I don't believe we're there yet, and I'm very hopeful that with the current trend, things can get better. So getting back to the subject about what I was asked to speak about is really my journey, and it's quite unusual. In the late 79, 1980, I had the privilege of having an extremely talented sibling, a younger sister, who was extremely talented, a prodigy, and at the age of 12, she was selected for the Indian team and represented India at the Asian Games. And that's much later. In the 90s, there's a picture of my sister Shanaz and myself. And she's actually the single reason why I ever became a coach. I had no other driving reason to. When she returned from Delhi after the 82 Asian Games, she didn't have a coach. We came back to Bangalore, and there just weren't that many coaches, maybe one or two tops, to do the job, and it just wasn't working. And I was literally forced. In fact, we were told at that time, she's this big international and she doesn't fit in, and that why don't you send her to the US or Australia? That was not an option at that point in time. And I was forced to step in. She either had to quit her sport, or I had to step in and help out. And that was a very, very difficult time for me, because I was just finishing up with my education. I was, helping my parents in the business that I was doing at that point in time. But I stepped in, didn't know much, and I think that short period of time is really what kind of laid the cornerstone of my coaching ethos, and that is, to get the job done within the rules, whatever it took. Whatever it took. There was no question of letting the person who I coached down. So it involved a lot of reading, burning the midnight oil, talking to people, and fortunately, and I know a couple of coaches who've learned this way too, that we've had some experts come down from time to time from Australia and Germany and places like that who've coached the Indian team. And what these athletes have done is they've kept a logbook with all the workouts, the entire season. And I have to tell you, I learned from that. I wasn't really sure why they did what they did, but that I had to find out, and I made mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes. And, if I had a chance to repeat, if I could turn back time, I would do things so much differently, because we know so much more now than we did in those days. And I'm sure, my sister would be an Olympian. She would be, at much, much higher level than what she ever achieved. I mean, she was a national champion for what, 10 years plus, the first international gold medalist from Karnataka, the first national gold medalist from Karnataka in the sport of swimming, and so on and so forth. But that was really a launching pad for me, because after the first few years, I really got hooked, and I was doing a fairly good job, and more national level athletes were interested to come and train with me. And in 1988, I had the opportunity to travel to the United States to attend the American swim coaches clinics, coaching clinics. And I had the opportunity to meet one of the Olympic coaches there, Jack Nelson, who was just an incredible man. And we got on like a house on fire. We just had an amazing relationship, and he invited me to come to the US and work with him, which was something unheard of. I mean, my family thought I was completely insane to just walk out on everything I had here, the business that I was just getting into, or working with my dad and so on and so forth, and I was ready to just drop everything and just leave, and just go. And I did, because I believe this was something that had never been done before, and that I need to take a chance. And I did. So there I was in Fort Lauderdale at the International Swimming Hall of Fame. Coach Nelson was he was the head coach there. of the Fort Lauderdale swim team and also the University of Miami. And he mentored me for between the years of 1989 to the end of 1992. And I learned everything I possibly could about coaching, and it was an amazing experience. Mind you, when I went to the US, I thought I knew everything. You know, I really did. I was in my middle 20s, and I had it all down. Science was the answer. Sports science was the answer. I knew everything about lactates, I knew everything about VO2 max, I knew everything about physiology, the whole 9 yards. I got everything down. And then I went there, and I learned from him that I knew nothing. You know, sports science is only one part of the whole story. It's the heart of coaching, it's the art of coaching. It's the X factor and the third eye. You know, that is what coaching is really all about. It's about caring for your athletes, understanding them, and making them believe in you. This was an absolutely amazing experience for me because, you know, within a short span between 89 and 92, I already had Olympic gold medalists. You know, as an assistant coach, I worked with him as an assistant, and we had one gold medal in the 4x100 relay with the American team in the Barcelona Olympics. And subsequently, 96, a swimmer that I coached, Sheila Tarmina, who incidentally is probably the only athlete in history that has ever participated in 3 consecutive Olympics in 3 separate sports. Yeah, So I believe it was her first Olympics was in swimming, where she won a medal in the 4x200 relay in Atlanta. And then subsequently she participated in triathlon, and then the third with in Beijing she participated in pentathlon, I believe. So anyway, so it was really easy because the way was anything was possible. If you had the initiative, if you had the drive, the way was open. And we both of us, I mean, we had fantastic chemistry, and in the 3 years that I was there, the Fort Lauderdale swim team became the only team in American history to win 3 consecutive national titles. And that is when I was really learning about coaching, I mean, real coaching. This combination of, I was really strong on the physiology and the sports medicine side with all the lactate testing and everything that I used to do. It provided fantastic ballast to Coach Nelson, who had 30-40 years of human experience and had been producing Olympians all his life, probably one of the most elite coaches in the United States. That helped him achieve at a much higher level, I'm sure. I'm sure I helped him. And more than anything, he helped me for sure to be the man that I am today, the coach that I am today. And I was invited back at the end of 1992 to come back and actually take over the national team, but that didn't really happen. But I came back to Karnataka to help in swimming. And it's been a challenge. It has been a challenge. Funding is a challenge. We have numerous challenges ahead of us. And we really need to put a system in place to get Indian swimming on the map. Whatever little bit we have achieved in swimming, I mean, it's against what the system is allowing us to produce. And, you know, the 2 medals at the consecutive medals at the Asian Games, the first medal in the para sports in the Commonwealth Games. You know, these are small little examples of what is possible. But the fact of the matter is, we do not have a talent identification system in place in this country. And only the athletes that come to me, they have the advantage of being coached in my academy at a particular level. We need to have pan-India, a really top quality talent identification program. And when I say talent, again, that's, you know, that's a double-edged sword. You know, we just want to have a lot of bodies is what we want to do. Because I think we can just That's myself, okay, and Jack. And okay, now here's the yeah, that's fine. That's myself and Jack Nelson, and then this is the global trend. Just to give you some insight into what's going on. Swimming is not as easy as most people think it is. It's my opinion. I mean, of course, you could have a different opinion if you want to. I mean, you're entitled to it. But it's my opinion that the National Olympic Committee of the most powerful countries in the world support those sports completely. They back those sports that have the maximum impact of medals. And those would be the mother sports, that is athletics and swimming. You know, athletics at the last Olympics was 205 countries. 205 countries. And swimming was 166 only for swimming. But then you have the other disciplines. I mean, when you say track and field, you've got everything. You've got the track, you've got the runs, you've got the throws, you've got the jumps, you've got all that stuff. And swimming, of course, you've got the swimming, the diving, the water polo, the synchronized swimming, which I have not added. So just the swimming is 166 countries. So we are dealing with 166 countries. And you can just see in the graph, you know, the amount of countries that are, and these are some of the, you see, these are some of the countries I mean, these are some of the sports that we do really well in. I mean, they're not all of them, but just as a representation for you to see what we're up against. Okay, so we're up against a lot, and we receive virtually no funding at all. We get very marginal funding from time to time from SAI, which is great because we will receive what we get with both hands very gratefully. But for us to be on the map globally, a lot more needs to be done. So let's move to the next slide. Yeah. China, USA, UK, Australia, Germany. Roughly between 100,000 to 500,000 registered swimmers in all of these countries. India, if we're lucky, 10,000. 10,000. You're going to be as good as your talent, you're going to be as good as your talent pool is. And the bigger the talent pool you have, the better chance you have of success. Well, I seem to be painting something of a gloomy picture. It's not gloomy at all. It's a jungle out here. There is so much opportunity for everyone. We just have to recruit young bodies by the thousand, by the hundreds of thousands. And then the natural talent with just a little bit of coaching, with a little bit of help, they are going to come up to the top. And it is definitely possible. You know, this is what I believe. This is a reality, you know. And we do not have the kind of data management what we require. There are no clear statistics as to exactly how many pools there are in India. There's no clear, there are no statistics clear as exactly how many swimmers there are, but I will give you a rough figure. And that would be approximately 26 states, between 26 and 28 states are represented at the national championships. Okay. And out of those states, at the state championship, about 500 participants, roughly from most of the states, and about 700 from Maharashtra. So if you look at all the 26 states, you would come to a figure between 10 and 13,000. But several of those states really are not that advanced. So I'll put the cap at about 10,000. So you can see there's a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot of potential for new swim programs to get in, grassroots programs to get in and get the job done. Okay. A real problem we've had is with grassroots coaching in this country, where we have, I think Gopi pointed that out as well, that we really need to pay our grassroots coaches, and we need to educate our grassroots coaches at a much higher level than what is happening. And historically in India, when a coach gets hold of a swimmer and coaches that swimmer at whatever level, and let's say it starts at grassroots, that coach wants to be associated with that swimmer or that athlete right through. And that trend has to stop. It absolutely has to stop. I mean, it's as clear as saying, you know, your kindergarten teacher has the right to take you right through to university and teach you at university and take care of your PhD at all. That's absolutely ludicrous. It just doesn't make any sense at all. So we need to pay our coaches and make sure that we have highly paid grassroots coaches, and that is what is really going to make the difference to Indian swimming. And there are a couple of other points really quickly. Like I said, I've just spoken about the increased participation of young kids, improving the quality of grassroots, and ensure proper support. It's a very interesting thing what is happening now. There seems to be some light at the end of the tunnel with due to the CSR, this Corporate Social Responsibility Initiative, which is coming in, that there is some, people like, GoSports for sure, which I'll speak about a little bit more, a little later. And we've got Glenmark and Jindal, and earlier the Mittal Foundation as well. This is a huge opportunity for us, but though these funds need to be channelized in the proper way, and we have to be really, really careful how this happens to make sure it impacts the athlete. It all has to filter down to the athlete, it has to filter down to the swimmer, and it has to make a difference to the programs that are producing. I would like to see the programs and the coaches who are really producing at the highest level, that they be supported by the government, or they be supported by the industry or the corporate structure that is looking for the results. Just a small thing. We've got the two swimmers who have produced at the highest level, that is in swimming so far from this country. Very early on, GoSports took them on and provided just a little bit of help for them in terms of their financial and lots of other support, lots of other support, and just that little nudge, just that little help has just taken these guys to that level. And if this effort intensifies and we can provide more such support, I can see very bright things happening in this Olympic sport. Okay, I have no doubt about that. Another point here is about mentorship. We have a problem. We really have a problem with our coaches. 90+% coaches that are coming out from NIS or LNCP, they are looking directly at, earlier it was a government job, which is still there. The new fad is international schools. All they want is a high paid job in an international school, and before you know it, they've tried to get their wife in as some kind of job in that school, and before you know it, their kids get free education in that school, so they're covered completely. Okay, this is a dangerous trend, and I think a lot of people here know what I'm talking about. They get good salaries, and you know what? This would be fantastic if these school programs were producing and those coaches were just churning out troves of high performance, really quality grassroots swimmers, but it's not happening. If we get the schools involved, they're right there. Every school has got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 students, and if we can get quality out of those schools, I think that's kick-starting the process right there. And these are a few things that I feel that can make a difference to the Olympic sports. Swimming being one of them, and one I can definitely talk about for sure. So these are a few of my suggestions that I have, and I think if everything fits into place, the future is bright, providing everybody does their job and takes their responsibility the way they're supposed to. Yeah. So listen, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for your time, and I hope I've been able to share some insight on my journey. Yeah. Thank you.